Awesome. Hey, everybody. My name's Nick. I'm the VP of Product Development here at Sourcepass. Appreciate you guys joining today. We're going to be walking through a lot of great features and business outcomes, really, as we look at our customer platform called Quest, and going to be showing you guys today a lot of what we've been building, both in the web experience as well as the desktop experience and mobile. So a lot to cover today in the sense of talking about new things that we're building that relate to digital transformation. And I brought my team on here with me today as well, too, to kind of walk through some foundational concepts of some of the business outcomes we're looking to deliver as well. So please feel free, as we're walking through this, to send any messages here in the Q&A. And we're happy to leave some time at the end to cover those as well. We're excited to show you this and kind of demo out a lot today. And I wanted to start off with kind of more of the fundamental why of what Quest is, what pain points it solves for today, as well as why we're making an investment in this area as well too. And to do that, I really wanted to get into some more of the foundational elements to start and showcase the portal as well too. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. All right. So fundamentally, what we're trying to do with the Quest platform and just really everything from a digital transformation perspective is really take a look at all the friction that is involved with IT and really try to step towards an Amazon-like experience for the things that you do on a day-to-day basis, or as an end user when we talk about typical break-fix items as it relates to hardware or software that you're interfacing with, common service requests that we get into, like new workstations, new employees that you want to onboard, and the life cycle of those events as well. And then when we thought about this, we really look at our landscape and the landscape as a whole and saw a lot of disparity between the different types of platforms that you would interact with for paying your bills with your provider versus looking at quotes versus looking at your orders versus submitting and viewing support cases. And we really wanted to disrupt in this space as far as providing a new age experience that accommodates for your communication preferences, generational preferences, or generational gaps, really should say, across the board as far as how you'd like to interface and making that a really clean experience. So I'm showcasing the platform here today, and I'm going to take you through some common workflows. And as we go throughout this webinar, I'm going to be speaking to more of the various solutions that we built and then introducing my team members as well who have been building the application and part of the discussions as far as our vision and the product discovery that we've been doing with our customer base and with our users internally to really get this off the ground. So fundamentally, when we think about a common workflow, really when we think about the genesis of a service request, you might be going in and saying, hey, I need to get a new piece of equipment for a user, whether that might be a new hardware or a new user we want to onboard or just a replacement device. It's a very common request. So we built Quest around this logical infrastructure of common categories and subcategories. And the really cool part about the app is that we built it so that it can be customized to your experience as a consumer. And really that includes things like branding, white labeling, as well as the types of request forms that you see here for the types of issues you might be having that might be relating to the service request, again, from hardware, new users. It also might relate to common issues in your environment, depending on the applications that you consume, as well as maybe some of the common workflows for approvals, getting access into applications, things like that. We'll be stepping through more of those as we keep going here. But this is a common request here that we get, and we can customize this form, as we see fit here. But effectively, what we want to do here is select, the various aspects of what we want to submit a request for. And we built this in a way that the form fields don't just take in plain text. We can leverage some other form types just to speed up that process, but also get the information our team needs to really process that quickly, or as you'll see later with user onboarding, in an automated fashion. So we can dictate things like if you're asking this for another user, maybe you're a manager coming in to do this, and these are conditional fields. So you may be asking for another member, and we can dictate that. And then you can say your region here. So in this case, I'm just saying new workstation for Nick Ross's laptop is out of commission. And then if you wanted to, you could specify a shipment address within here as well, for what we're doing if you wanted to drop ship that. And as we'll see here in a minute, we can actually track the shipping information. You can get shipping status updates if it's going direct to a user, or if it's coming to your corporate site in this as well too. And that allows you to really track these requests as well in a central location. You can also include any emails that you want to CC on the request in the initial performance of this, but I'm not going to add any for the sake of this demo. Just got to click on submit here. And this is going to go directly to our service team to go ahead and begin processing as well. And within here, we have some considerations for kind of that feedback loop and follow-up. And when I talked about more of that central experience for everything you do, I wanted to use this as an example here because when we talk about the life cycle of getting a new piece of hardware, it often goes through different team members. It's going through different hoops. There can be human breakdown, but there's a lack of visibility into status and kind of connecting the dots. So after this order goes through, you can actually see if this is in the sense of looking at maybe this is going from a manager to somebody internal to your organization to approve that new workstation. It'd really move into a quote workflow here where you can see more details about the quote, and then you can go ahead and approve it. And from there as well, you get into aspects of the platform like the orders. So once that quote's approved, then we have that order. We have a status here that we can measure, and then the team will add tracking information here as well for that order, and that's bound directly to our messaging center. So whenever you submit that, you'll get tracking updates that will be sent to you as well. It just relates to the status of that shipment, and you can see all that here in a single location. And as soon as this also is processed and tied, it'll be tied back to an invoice as well. And you can view the invoice directly within the platform additionally here too. And that invoice will include not only obviously the hardware that you may be purchasing, but maybe the recurring services as well. So it's just a central location, a central stepping point for an entire experience here when we talk about simple aspects of the life cycle that really create a lot of friction today when we think about basic user requests, those workstations, laptop peripherals, as well as new user requests, which we'll get here to a little bit later as well. But effectively, we really wanted to drive home, that central location, avoid a lot of phone tag, avoid a lot of back and forth on communications, and really get into more of what we want to focus on, which is growing business through technology and providing world-class support in a lot of ways as well too. So we'll be stepping in more of the app across these different experiences here, but I wanted to quickly pivot and kind of start introducing some of my team here as well too, as it relates to just who's been building the app, what perspectives do we have, just so you guys can see, more of the aspects of what we're doing. So I want to introduce one of my colleagues and good friends, which is Brian Spano, onto the call here as well. And I'll let Brian introduce himself and a little bit more about what he does here at Sourcepass.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. Thanks, everybody, for joining and welcome. I'm Brian Spano. I'm the Director of Product Development here at Sourcepass. I've been in the web and app development space for over 25 years, where I've had the opportunity to manage and do some marketing for companies and clients as well as internal. And now I get to channel all that into leading our product initiatives, of course, with Nick's guidance for sure. And it's a pleasure to be part of the team that we have here, which is dynamic and they're innovative and forward thinking. So certainly excited about that and continuing to work on all this groundbreaking development here.
Awesome. Yeah, great to have you, Brian. One of the big things that we focus on or taking a look at in the sense of our app development and some of the reasons why we went out and built a mobile app as well is really related to the omni-channel experience. I'd love for you to kind of just, for those who aren't familiar with that, or it's kind of more of a foreign term, love if you could just kind of speak to what is omni-channel.
Sure. I think that the best way to explain it is you think about how when you reach out for support of anywhere you're looking for, maybe you send an email then you have to call to follow up. And each time it feels like you're starting all over again. It becomes frustrating, it's disconnecting, and it wastes a lot of time, right? So that's exactly the problem that omni-channel solutions are meant to solve. It means no matter how you try to contact a company, whether it's through an app, a website, phone call, your experience should feel the same, as seamless, right? So they should, like they know you, and no matter which way you're attempting to get in touch, right? So that's kind of what we've built into Quest, right? With our app, you start a service request, you check on it, you receive updates, whether you're on the laptop at work, on your phone, while you're out grabbing coffee, things like that. It all syncs up perfectly. And I always kind of equate it to the Starbucks app, right? Which many of us love using. You kind of reload your card in an instant on your phone. You can order ahead when you're on the subway or in the car. Not you want to be driving while doing this, but you could also pick up your coffee without waiting in line, right? So it remembers favorites, suggests new options, things like that. That's omni-channel at its best, and no matter how you interact with it. And we've taken that same principle and applied it to Quest, because no matter where you are, what device you're using, Quest makes it easy to manage your IT services in a way that feels pretty consistent and connected, right? It takes away that pain of having to juggle different platforms or repeat your story over and over. Everything is right there, streamlined in one app, and makes your experience pretty smooth as far as making, whether you're dealing with service ticket reviews or, as we talked about with Starbucks, is, ordering your favorite coffee. So.
Awesome. And why do you think, for our customer base, especially when we take a look at, some of the heavy volume that we interact with end users and different aspects, what's a good example of us kind of leaning into this and showcasing the value there of mobile experience and then shifting into a web experience, things like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, for our mobile app specifically, we have a lot of really great, exciting ways that we can talk about that app's key features that can help achieve what we're talking about here, right? So we have our mobile app has a cloud-based architecture. So what's important about that? You have your phone is your phone; it's personal, and it from the perspective of applications that you install on your phone, you need them to be lightweight, efficient. You need them to not take up a lot of space and memory, and that's certainly what our application does. Some of the things that accommodate some of the omni-channel things that we discussed before, push notifications, right? So we need to make sure that our teams internally here at Sourcepass, as well as clients of ours, have access to the things they need. That modern tool that can inform you instantly of updates to your service tickets, invoices, orders, etc. Right? We give now features that can certainly give that have these enhancements to experience, such as the knowledge base. We have a knowledge base that allows our clients and our internal team to access and be able to know, have customized content specific to even the organization's needs, as well as global knowledge base information to have issues resolved independently and pretty efficiently. Some of the other things would be based on the new features that we align with our goal as to make the mobile app as a standalone resource. We plan to have both, instead of not just iOS, but also Android. So we're occupying all platforms, having this be a comprehensive communication tool.
Awesome. Yeah, and to show some of that, I'm going to share my screen back out here as well, just to kind of showcase some of the things that Brian's been talking about. I'm actually sharing this live from my phone as well, and just showcasing some of the native functionality here on iOS. So as Brian mentioned, we have these native push notifications here as well, and this relates back to just that same workflow that I was just going through, where we submitted that new ticket for a hardware request, and I can actually click on that to open the application here, and that'll take me directly into this ticket. and I get to see that summary of the ticket, and I can see the status of it, which is in a new status today. At this point, some of the cool things that we can do on here from just a native perspective is we can go ahead and we can add users as CC members onto the ticket really quickly here. So if I search for a different user like Josh that I want to add, I can quickly add him to the ticket, click on add users, and now he's been added there and he has a little profile icon, so he'll get status update on that as well. The other native functionality that we built in here is just to quickly add any type of screenshots or attachments as well. So you can just quickly add any type of evidence or supplemental information to this ticket. So I go into my photos here, I can add a message with the image, and I could say something like previous errors. And obviously, this is just an example. We would want to try to give a little bit more of a description there. But the point is that we are directly just kind of sending this information over, and we have that attachment now in the ticket. So when we talk about omni-channel, I think it's also important to talk about just kind of your user experience as you traverse different facets of the application as well. So if we go back into the web app now and we go into our service and support section here, and we go into our tickets, one of the things I do want to, I should refresh my page here. One of the things that, we built in natively is just kind of the seamless experience as far as being able to see these various updates. And right here, you can see this is the ticket that we're interfacing with, but directly here from what I just produced on the phone and the image that I uploaded, I have my comment. I can see on this ticket, Josh is tagged as well, just for visibility purposes. And this is really just giving me a pivot point. So if I'm on the go, I add this comment, I can come quickly back into web and see this experience. And obviously we want to extend that into your communications as far as, what's going to the technicians. The same thing, from the technician perspective is happening on what they're seeing and what they can do in that perspective as well too. So a lot of great functionality to just kind of mold in some of the various aspects of what we've been kind of discussing here on the call from the things that we've been doing. The other great thing is we do have these push notifications and message status updates for both new tickets. You can see when your new orders have been created too. So when we talk about approving these orders and seeing kind of the reference point, we can scale, we can go across, and we can see all this within the application. We can see the status. And then you can actually see on these tickets, just kind of the products that are being ordered, and that'll reference the tracking ID. But you also start to get those push notifications when you have shipment status updates as well, just so you have a complete journey in this use case against the device to see what you're doing. But the same support experience here, can be found when we talk about viewing tickets and kind of looking at everything that we're doing here in this sense for just kind of the progress of the ticket, and as an admin user maybe of everything that we're looking at, we might want to come in and peruse all of the tickets that our users have open really quickly, and maybe supplement them with different artifacts and things of that nature as well too. So it's just a more seamless experience to kind of get into that. The other native capabilities we have here, you have a directory, a company directory that you can leverage to filter in, on different users. So if I was going to search for Brian here as well, I can find him in my directory. If I didn't add a space, I think that's a problem. And then you have your phone number here. You can go ahead and call them directly from your mobile device as well too. So just another quick accessibility, native integration to Quest and Quest Mobile as well, just from the things that we're doing. So now I wanted to bring on another colleague of mine, Brittany Magnus, who's a product manager here with us, and I wanted to let her introduce herself because she's been heavily involved in the launch of mobile and overall development. So Brittany, welcome, and let us know if you could just introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brittany. I'm the product manager of Quest. The two product lanes that I currently oversee are web and mobile. I also oversee desktop, but it's kind of a 2-for-1 for right now. I've been here since April, and since then it's been a really exciting journey in getting Quest up and running. And we have a lot of exciting things on the roadmap. So right now, what Nick is displaying is the first iteration of mobile, and it has been a really good journey getting here. We did just recently release this back in December, and we are heavily working on releasing Android currently.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Brittany. A lot of work went into this for sure, and we're taking in a lot of requests since going GA, and throughout our beta here as well too. I'd love for you to talk to us more about, Brian mentioned an example of, Starbucks for omni-channel, but when we were building this, I remember we had a lot of discussions around just delightful experiences we had from a customer experience perspective that integrated into our mobile device, whether that was SMS or through an application. I'd love to share or have you share, one of those experiences you had that maybe we discussed or that you thought of. This is kind of along the theme of what we're trying to drive into this application.
Yeah, I have a perfect example. For example, I live in a rather remote area and my electric company, sometimes I lose power. They have a mobile application and it's a very seamless interaction. Within this interaction, if my power goes out, I am automatically getting an SMS notification that I can click into. It Face IDs enables me to get into my mobile device, and it tracks real time when my power is going to turn on. I can communicate within that SMS. So if I'm saying I'm still out of power, I have a live agent responding back to me. I don't have to make a phone call. I don't have to do anything. It's all handled for me. And I think that is the goal of Quest, is to be proactive, but also allow the customer to feel like they're also being heard. So that is the vision here with Quest, is that when you're submitting a ticket, we want you to have multiple avenues that you can go in to request help. SMS communication is definitely something that we want to do on the roadmap. But for right now, you can go in, submit a ticket, reply from that ticket, but then also toggle over to our desktop application or our web application to reply, to take screenshots on whatever software that requires the assistance that's needed. I think that long term, we're only going to get better. But for right now, for the V1 of both web, desktop, and mobile, we allow that streamlined communication today.
Awesome. Yeah, I think, we're only going up from here in the sense of just customizing it, making it more tailored. And I think a lot of what we thought about from a design perspective was just really related to simplicity. We have a lot of features and functionality, but we really wanted to make it smooth. So I'd love for you if you could talk more to us about the simplicity that we did try to build into mobile.
Yeah, so I know you guys are very familiar with very robust softwares. And when we were designing mobile, we wanted to have everything that had web, but to be incredibly intrusive. You don't have a keyboard and you don't have a mouse, you have your fingertips. So how can we make this as streamlined as possible for you to be able to gather the information, pay your balances, submit inquiries? We have an amazing designer. Her name is Rachel. She has been heading this effort and she has done an incredible job. Kind of just making finance in general one of the best features we have in our mobile app. And we've worked heavily with the finance department to accomplish all of this. But within here, we use a lot of native Apple features. And once we release Android, we're going to be using a lot of native Android features. It's something people are comfortable with. So why try to recreate the wheel if we can just add comfort, simplicity, and efficiency into a mobile app?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think one of the, points of friction we also wanted to make sure we covered in that was just, how accessible it is from the standpoint of, entering the portal and making sure that that's not a friction point in and of itself. So certainly having Face ID tied into this makes it so that you don't have to have a separate pair of credentials to get into the application. The entire application itself is bound to Microsoft Active Directory and your authentication there, or G Suite if you're a G Suite user. So we really wanted to make that simplistic and really not force you into different methods of authentication or multi-factor, from a security sense as well too. So there's a lot that we can do in that perspective, to continue to further just onboarding experience, to immediately recognize, going into some productive level settings, or, moving into what would make you productive in that sense. So a lot of great call outs there from the standpoint of, things that we're doing and things that we're trying to work on the mobile front. We're going to continue to invest there. Like Brittany and Brian mentioned, we're working heavily on Android version, just getting that published. And then we have a lot of things in the hopper as far as iteration on mobile to continue this experience out and make this really seamless for both the regular, typical end users in your company who are just mostly using it for ticket submissions, ticket tracking, but then also more of the management layer, the primary contact layer of being able to manage more of the life cycle of what's going on in the business, but also start to see some of the service statistics and things like that too. So I want to pivot over into some of the reporting aspects that we have in the Quest as well, and start to talk about our transparency and just kind of what we're doing there on this front and a lot of the data that we're collecting. So I want to introduce another member of our team. His name's Jared Taylor. And Jared, I would love if you could introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. I'm Jared. So I've been a part of Sourcepass for coming up on a year now. But beforehand, I was mostly involved. So I was a systems engineer. So I have kind of a unique perspective. I came on to Sourcepass as a product manager. So kind of heading up this insights initiative. And really what that is like Nick mentioned, part of that omni-channel, like holistic experience of, providing transparency, but also communication to customers. So whereas you have, the service flow of a ticket, this is more of your reporting side of things. And coming from service, I kind of had a unique perspective on, what customers were looking for, from communication down to, like the whole flow of a ticket from response time to resolution. So that's kind of the perspective that we took when we were looking at this service report.
Awesome. Yeah, so walk us through this, Jared. I'd love to kind of highlight some of your favorite, widgets, cards, things like that, and some of the data points and what you're hearing from our customers, and that when we take a look at the various pieces of BI that we're showcasing here.
Yeah, so initially, it was kind of a journey of discovery as far as, what data do we want to show? What data is most relevant, and how to gather those sources of data. So, in the back end, we have all of our data that we've aggregated from multiple sources. And this is unique in the industry in that we can be transparent across the board. We're kind of aggregating all of our service level statistics into one spot to kind of give, like I said, a holistic picture of the service that we're providing. You can see some basic metrics up here at the top here. Your satisfaction score. That's just based off of how customers, end users are getting service. It's just their perspective on and keep in mind the numbers that you're seeing here is mostly dummy data and testing data. So what you see there, that 70%, that's how satisfied are customers with the service, and that goes into every level of service tickets. We also have total tickets, just to kind of give a perspective of how many across the organization, how are we engaging with Sourcepass. But where I think the real interesting metrics start to come in is kind of service response and resolution times. You can see here what we're trying to capture is the whole life cycle of a ticket from a end user experience perspective. So when you put in a ticket with Sourcepass, how long is it going to take for that ticket to be acknowledged? When is someone going to reach out to you, and when can I expect for that ticket to be resolved? And that goes into agreements that we have with customers, kind of their expectations. And what's nice from a customer perspective is that you can kind of measure up, the performance that you see here with your actual experience. And your expectations that you've set beforehand. And you can see on that chart there, we can switch between acknowledgement times. You can actually track performance increases. And what we really wanted to do here is be transparent, but also enable that communication. A lot of MSPs, as they engage with customers, they see these metrics on a monthly or quarterly basis when they meet with their CSMs or whoever their contact is within their MSP. What we wanted to do is put this at the fingertips of the customer so that there's never any questions. There's never any lack of communication there. everyone is looking at the same data, everyone is on the same page, and we can see those improvements. We can talk about that. It enables communication. But those were the keys. Allow transparency across all service levels, and just enable that communication layer for that omni-channel experience of we can engage with the service tickets here, but we can also see our metrics over time.
Absolutely. Yeah, it makes sense. We've got a lot of great feedback, I know, from this so far about just having that level of visibility, and knowing that we are presenting this raw data as quickly as possible, and trying to put ourselves in that light of putting ourselves in the position of true representation of what we're doing, number one, but again, holding us accountable too. But a lot of these metrics, that we baked in here, I think are really something we're trying harder even to try to get more proactive on. Things like the ticket categorization coming through and just being able to see, what types of tickets are we seeing the most, and can we create some type of self-help for those if they're issues that users can resolve on their own, or if it is something that we can take a look at to say maybe we could fix this or maybe put a better process in. As well as like maybe it's a new form, that we create that users can quickly just adopt, and we can get the information that we need to help solve the case faster. So a lot of great data in here, just from the standpoint of, sources, top ticket submitting users, top ticket submitting devices. That could also give us key indicators that maybe that device should just be replaced, given, it's having so much support problems as well. So we are trying to be proactive in that regard, and just kind of seeing that. I think the other thing that we acknowledged is that, with employee onboarding and offboarding, a lot of our customers don't have this visibility or central tracking, given that they might not be using a full-blown HR system just yet. They might be tracking in a spreadsheet, might be hard to consume. And this visibility to kind of see either growth or churn is very helpful as well. So a lot more to come, in the sense of our reporting layer. But I think the other thing that we wanted to discuss, Jared, was really around the importance of project tracking and project visibility. So I know we're kind of early in this cycle of getting this out to our customers, but could you speak to a little bit about some of the common struggles, given your background as well, to working on projects with customers, some of the friction that might exist there, and some of the asks that they had as well too, as it relates to the project reporting?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, just from the initial perspective of like the project flow, and how we communicate with customers, there's always this there's a gap in communication. This seems to be the number one complaint, or the number one issue whenever you're engaging with customers on projects. Just next steps, previous steps. Where are we in the status of the project? Even down to the billing cycle, there can be this just this miscommunication or lack of communication, lack of transparency, and that can hold up projects significantly. If a customer isn't sure what phase they're in a project, even what the next steps are, what's expected from them. So that's kind of what we, again, on that transparency level, we've tried to build something that is as transparent as possible. But what it does is it allows for communication across the board, so everyone can see the same data and be on the same page.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm going to pull this up here now as well. Some of the things that we've been working on. I know we're in a beta for this right now, but I wanted to kind of showcase this here as well too, just to kind of show some of the statistics that we're representing here. Like Jared mentioned, the sense of the status and kind of understanding where progress lies as well too. When we're doing these projects, it's really, we try to position them, I think, more so from a business growth perspective. It's really strategic in nature to get them either to more modern technologies that will help them achieve new operational efficiencies, but also take a look at, just the basic administration of it. Where's this at in the process? Do we have to track things down in email? Hopefully not, given, the level of transparency. And then how does this tie back, like Jared was mentioning, to my billing events as well there too? And you kind of have some context as far as historical projects and things like that as well. So there's a lot we're going to be investing in the reporting layer, just to give you more and more visibility across not only the things that you're doing with Sourcepass, but ideally, the tooling that you leverage today, or we layer in for your productivity services, maybe like Microsoft 365. as well as, more of those backup services as well too. So a lot of on that as far as just more of these insights serving up. But appreciate that, Jared, too, because I know the team's been working hard on getting a lot of this pulled out, and we have some really cool architecture that we've been working on to really make this seamless and allow us to scale up in the sense of the amount of data that we can present back up to customers, and kind of changing the format of how that's consumed, like you mentioned, from once every quarter to always on. And I think that's a really big deal too. So thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And like I mentioned, this is a continuing initiative. We're building a lot on top of this. There's a lot of data and a lot that we can present to customers, but the idea is always to, benefit that customer experience as much as possible.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Great. Yeah, so now going into like kind of our last section here, we want to talk about, one of the most common friction points, I think, in any organization, which relates to onboarding new users and how that looks between IT, HR, and the organization as well too, when we talk about different business systems. And I want to bring in my colleague who manages this for us on our side, Graham. Graham, could you introduce yourself and chat up a little bit more about what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Nick. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining today. My name is Graham Rosenberg, and I'm the director of the ROC here at Sourcepass, which stands for Robotic Operations Center. The ROC department is responsible for creating automated workflows for task and process automation. Personally, I've been working in the managed IT space for about 8 years now, working closely with all different types of customers in a wide variety of verticals, and have been building automated onboarding workflows for many of these customers, both simple and complex in nature, for the last few years.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a kind of a new term for us, but I think automation is going to be really key to help us scale, especially given we have this explosion of SaaS apps, in the ecosystem. We have considerations that we've had pain points around for many, many years as it relates to user onboard in general. So being so close to that, I'd love for you to speak to some of the common, either pitfalls or pain points that you see, in working with all these different customers in these different environments, whether that's from HR or IT, around user onboarding.
Yeah, sure. It's come quite a long ways from when I started 8 years ago. 8 years ago, most of these requests came in via email saying, hey, please onboard John Smith. He starts on Tuesday. And there was a lot of pitfalls between the MSP and the customer just onboarding this user with lack of communication or lack of details. So we kind of evolved into this by firstly creating onboarding forms and customizing these forms based to the customer. And the big idea here is we could ask all the questions right up front, required fields right up front. That way, when all the data comes over to the MSP, we have all the data needed. We don't have to have any back and forth. That's really one of the biggest hangups between MSPs and our customers is if an onboarding goes south, it's way worse than a normal service ticket going south. You've made a bad first impression for the person coming on board into this new company, and it just reflects poorly on the MSP. When it comes to automating some of those fields, that's kind of what's new in this age. We collect all that information on the form. Since now we have all the information on the form, we can start automating a lot of these things, adding the manager in an automated way, adding people to these groups. So that reduces the amount of human error necessary, which we see from time to time.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, and I'd love to showcase some more of that, within the application itself and some of the things that we're doing as well. Certainly, there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and we want to try to mute, really that friction and really create a productive experience. Because I think if you think about yourself out there in the audience as far as your, onboarding experience to your company or companies in the past, it probably wasn't, the most elegant in the sense that you got your device, you signed in for the first time, you got all your applications, you were up and running and kind of productive on that first day, or even sometimes for some certain companies, it's even that first week. So there's definitely a lot of opportunity here for us. And let me share my screen out now, because much like the onboarding experience or workflow that we saw for workflows, when we talk about workstations, we built a similar functionality here for net user onboarding request. You can go into the admin section. We will have specifically a new hire request within here. And this is where Graham was mentioning we can really tailor this form out to your business, and we want to work with you, on what fields should be required, what do we need, how much can we automate that makes sense to the business, in the ways of which would really maximize your time, but also reduce that friction. So Graham, can you speak to just some of the things kind of going on in this form and maybe how it's unique?
Yeah, absolutely. The Power Request allows so many of these forms to be dynamic in nature. Talking about just creating the username, a lot of times companies have first name dot last name or first initial dot last name. We can dictate that in the automation and the form itself, just to reduce the human error there. Some of the other fields down below, related to like departments or locations or groups, we're pulling this data in real time, whether it's from our internal system or from your Office 365 environment or Active Directory environment. Historically, when you have these forms, it's a lot of maintenance to keep them updated. You add a group, you add a distribution list, add a shared mailbox. It was a manual effort to go back in and add these. Well, now, since we're tied in directly via API, if you add a new license or a new group on the back end, this form is going to update in real time. There's no human that's needed to go keep this form up to date.
Awesome. Yeah, we're seeing that here too. I think with certain things like even licensing, right? We can dictate and show how many licenses are available and kind of create different workflows. At the beginning of this webinar, I talked about more of that, Amazon-like experience, kind of frictionless experience in that way. And I think for certain events like this, when we talk about new users or new devices, you can think about it like a checkout experience that's really tailored to your company. And that's a lot of what we're trying to derive in here. And I think, like Graham mentioned, a lot of the dynamic aspect of this for pulling these fields down, such as when you choose a location, even all of these fields kind of natively update, which is really nice and seamless. So that again, we're trying to reduce manual data entry and try to be really intelligent about what we present. We want this to be templatized for you, so you reduce your time here, but we reduce that human error that Grant alluded to earlier, as far as just all the things. If you think about this form, likely yours might not be as cumbersome, or as looking as many fields, but there's a lot that could go wrong here, in the sense of just humans interacting with the assignments, and we want to couple both the human experience with some automation and reduce that onboarding time. Graham, from your experience, we haven't broadly, taken this out to a large base yet. This was our goal, but from some of the things that you've seen, based off of your past automation workflows and the things that we're building, what would you say is like, an estimate of the time savings when we talk about user onboards and kind of the reduction in time spent?
Yeah, it's a great question. As I alluded to, some of the workflows are very basic in nature, and some are very advanced. Some of our customers, we've automated the form to the flow that we're saving hours per new employee onboarding. We're automatically creating users in a variety of different tools. We're automating a bunch of different workflow emails to be sent out. We have some customers that this is the front end of their whole HR process. They fill out this form and then everything happens. They get created in their HR platform. Finance will get an email internally saying, hey, John Smith needs, an Amex card, corporate card. There's just so much that we can put in. I mean, the more time we put in on the front end, it just exponentially saves time on the back end. And something I wanted to highlight that you mentioned as well, saving all that time, I think, is an added bonus. It's the cherry on top. It's the accuracy of everything that happens is really where the big value is here. Creating somebody in all of these systems without knowing there's no typos, knowing that no systems got missed, that every single time it's 100% accurate, I think is the real value coming out of this forum.
Yeah, that's a great call out. And that's the gold standard, I think for trying to get consistency there, because it creates less friction, for the users overall. You have a more or better really a customer experience or user experience introducing yourself even to that company. So it's a really big deal that's really seamless, outside of even just basic productivity considerations there as well. I think one of the things, if we take a look at kind of what's going on behind the scenes here, and everything that is going on the back end is quite much like a spaghetti bowl, as far as the logic goes. So there's a lot of intelligence that's happening behind here to handle so many different various situations. I think is the highlight of that. I would obviously never go through that with you guys, but I really think that we're trying to accommodate for these various workflows and create proper error handling when things do break down, help facilitate that as a full life cycle. We're really capitalizing on just making this a really seamless experience and get better about the feedback loop as well, like we showed with the new workstation submissions here as well too. So with that, I wanted to pivot back into kind of setting up some Q&A and just kind of introducing it back out to the audience here as well. We've gone through some of the high level components there. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing some more requests, maybe some new features if you are current customers that you haven't seen before. But also, I know there's some of you out there that aren't really in the Sourcepass ecosystem today. So we'd love to turn it over and see if there is any type of questions that we could answer, maybe about anything we covered today, or anything in general as it relates to the Sourcepass or to the Quest platform and as well. And while we're waiting on that, Brian, I don't know if you want to speak to, or we're having some questions maybe come through, maybe speak to some of the things also that we have on the horizon, some things we're excited about, kind of just been doing some product discovery with our customers. What else is coming through?
Yeah, thank you, Nick. I think there's a couple things we can discuss here. Certainly features that are in the current app, which we've just updated recently, that we're pretty excited about. There's 3 of them that I think make a big difference for our users. One would certainly be, of course, the push notifications concept that we spoke about before. It's like having like a personal assistant that keeps you in the know, right? It's giving you real-time updates. It means our users don't have to chase down information. It's coming right to them. The second would be, from a security standpoint, Face ID authentication. So as a user decides that they want to log in, they can use multiple different methods. They can log in using their Office 365. They can log in via standard username and password, which is email address and password. They have G Suite. So for those of us that use G Suite, we have that option. But we also have Face ID, which is both secure and a breeze. It's really simple, safe. It keeps things simple when accessing your account, no passwords needed, but certainly very secure. And then, of course, our service request easy accessibility. It's obviously we're all trying to make our lives easier. So this is definitely one way. It's super simple to send a service request, as you showed earlier. And what's happening with it, even talk directly with the support team, however that works. As far as roadmap features that we've kind of been talking about, that are things in the pipeline that I think everyone would be pretty enthusiastic, that of course we're enthusiastic about for sure, and some good standout options, and certainly things that Jared's working on right now regarding the security reporting. Obviously, security for our clients is super important. It's tantamount to operating a business these days. So we're not only enhancing Quest to monitor and actively improve organization security postures, but we're also giving a real-time security score. It's kind of like a health checkup for your IT environment. And it doesn't really stop there. What we're planning to do is suggest actionable steps, how Sourcepass can help bolster defenses, right? It's like having a security consultant right there at your fingertips. So that's one thing that we're really excited about. Another one would be our knowledge base utilizing AI. So it's kind of like taking the FAQs to a whole new level, not just for us internally providing that information to our clients, like for our Sourcepass information, but also for their own organization internally. We have some things to work out. We're still in the kind of midst and discovery process on that, but it's kind of thinking of it as like a smart assistant that continuously learns about IT challenges that organizations have and offers preemptively solutions in a way that is easy to digest, implement, that kind of thing. So those are some really great things that we're pretty excited about, and it's certainly on the horizon for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for that, Brian. Really exciting stuff. I know, we've always got a lot going on. We're actively taking customer feedback. We've got quite a roadmap, but we're trying to factor all that in as well, as you mentioned. And there's a lot of excitement just in seeing the rise in adoption we even have over this past quarter. And like I mentioned at the beginning, I think we still have some work to go there from a product market fit perspective and really trying to hone in on that. But we've made significant gains, and I'm really excited about the progress from the team as well too. So don't see any questions that have come through. So I'm going to go ahead and start to wrap things up here, but do appreciate those of you on the call who joined. If you're looking to learn more about Sourcepass, you're not part of the Sourcepass ecosystem, you can simply just go to sourcepass.com, and we have like a get started button there, and you can fill out some basic information for us to reach out. If you are a current partner and have not interacted with Quest yet, you can go to that same location. We have this client portal button in the right-hand side, and you can actually access the application directly through there. And again, you can use your Microsoft credentials if you leverage Microsoft or G Suite or basic email authentication as well. To interface with the application, you have to be in our ecosystem to not get an error message there. But that's one way you could check us out. Certainly, if you're already working and you want to learn more about Sourcepass, our team's happy to meet up. We do a lot of feedback sessions. So if you're out there and wanting to chat more about some ideas that might be able to help with your business, we're open to spending some time there and getting on calls. That'd be really great to hear that feedback. So again, thank you all for joining, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Appreciate it, and have a good rest of your week.